Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. Hopefully this is working. And if not, we'll do the replay later. But this is Jackie Pilossoph, and I'm so excited to have her here today. She is the founder of Divorce Girl Smiling, and I'll let her tell you a little bit more about her business. And we met because she approached me to be one of her recommended divorce professionals. And I've just enjoyed getting to know her so much. And she has such positivity around divorce and has helped so many people navigate and get through it. So I'm really excited. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Oh, Alyssa, thanks for having me. I felt the same way about you when I heard your story and saw your book. I was like, wow, you really know what you're talking about, and you have such a passion for helping people in the dating arena after divorce. You really do.
Thank you. And ditto. So Jackie's going to tell us a little bit about Girl Smiling, but also she's going to tell about her personal journey and how she met her current partner and just, going through divorce and dating again. So I'll let you tell your story.
Sure. So, a little bit about Divorce Girl Smiling before I get into my story is very different than what Alyssa does. I focus on day one that you get separated, even before, if you're thinking about a divorce, and I try to connect my community and listeners and readers with trusted divorce professionals to help you through your divorce. And then, of course, after dating, whereas Alyssa is focused completely on all dating after divorce. So, if you want to check me out, you can go to divorcegirlsmiling.com. Okay, my story. So, I got divorced when I was 41. I had two toddlers. I didn't know anyone else who was divorced, not even one person. I live in a suburb which is very gossipy. And I mean, not that they're nice people, they're really great people, but it's small and people talk. I didn't have any family in town, and I was felt feeling very isolated and alone, like I was on an island. And I started dating pretty quickly after I got separated. So
Mhm.
everyone's different. Some people wait years and years. I did it right away because I had felt alone for such a long time that, to me, I was already divorced the day my ex-husband moved out. So, and no judgment when you decide to
Mhm.
date, right, Alyssa? I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
whenever you feel is the right time is
Mhm.
the right time. So I was single for a couple years, nothing really stuck. I dated a guy who was like hot and cold and sort of called me and then didn't call me and sort of tortured me for a couple years. And I think that was my way of just being like, I'm not really ready for anything. Otherwise, I would not be with this person.
Mhm.
And I had like, I dated a much younger guy. And then I dated somebody for a really long time, many, many years. And then I was single again for a little bit, and then I met the
And
love of
the
my life.
oh yeah, okay.
Okay, go
The,
ahead.
the person that you dated for a few years, how did you meet him and how did that evolve, I guess?
So I met him on a blind date, and
Hmm.
he checked off all the boxes on paper, good job, nice looking, good family, and I think at the beginning it was good, and I sort of knew early on that it wasn't going to work out, but everybody kept saying to me, keep dating him if you're happy. And so I sort of agree with that and I sort of don't. I think it's a personal decision. I
Hmm.
kept dating him because I believe that in my heart I didn't really want to be married and I didn't care. But, I spent several years with him and I could have been with someone else that was right. So
Right.
if you're one of those people who are like, I don't want to waste time, I would say my advice would be if you know it's not right, end it, even if it's
Mhm.
comfortable and you like the person. But if you know it's not the one, I would not spend 4 years, dating the
Mhm.
person because nothing's really wrong.
Yeah, right, right.
you
Yep.
know. And so when we finally broke up, it was because he was pressuring me to get married. And he finally called my bluff. And I said, I don't want to be married. And then I found myself single at 49. And I
Hmm.
remember
Hmm.
thinking, like, no one's going to want me. It's okay. I'll just be single forever. But because I would rather be single than go through another divorce or be in a relationship that isn't right. And I truly believed I would be single for the rest of my life. I thought 49 was really old. I would give anything to be 49
I
right
know.
now.
I know. Isn't it funny? I know. I was gonna say,
So
as you're saying that, I hear that statement from people that are 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65. I mean, I hear that same statement that I'm too old now. It's not going to happen for me. And I see people that find someone up until I have a client that's 80 and has met somebody. So it's never
I
too
have a
late.
cousin who's 82 who looks like she's 60 and she just met someone and she's very happy.
Right, right. Yeah, it does happen. It happens as long as you're putting the energy out there. But anyway, yeah. So
Mhm.
go on. So
Okay,
you were
so
single.
right. And then I already knew who is now my spouse. I already knew him and I always had a crush on him, but he was married. And then
Hmm.
he,
And did he
you know,
live in your town?
he lives in my town. He
Okay.
was my son's baseball coach many years earlier. And I always
Okay.
was like, why can't I meet anyone like him? But I truly assumed that he was happily married, didn't
Hmm.
even look into it or anything. And then connected with him at my gym and he told me he was getting divorced. Well, after we talked and were friends for 2 years, and then he said, I'm getting divorced. And it was a huge shock to me. I really had no idea. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm so sorry. And then so we really had a nice friendship, not good friends or anything, but two people who had seen each other at the gym pretty much 5 days a week for 2 years. You know how
Mm.
you go to a gym and you say hi to everyone and it becomes like a community. So I guess my first piece of advice to people listening is if you aren't a workout person, you should become one for the sole purpose of going to a gym and getting into that community. You don't have to be a workout freak, but
Hmm.
you'll really start to enjoy seeing the same people and you'll start having interesting conversations. And guess what? You're improving your health while you're doing it. And it
Right,
became
right.
almost like this fun part of my day saying hi, and people expected me to be at the gym and I expected them to be there. So there was this accountability. It was
Hmm.
really nice. And
Yeah,
that
yeah.
only ended at COVID. And now I'm back, of course. I go to the same gym. So, but when
And
I
so
first
how long were you friends before it became something
I would
romantic?
say I knew him for about 7 or 8 years, and we were
Mhm.
friends for about 2 years, but not friends who called each other or socialized outside the gym, because that would have been emotional cheating. And I
Mhm.
really felt a lot of times when I was talking to him at the gym, I'd be like, am I emotionally cheating? Because I sort of have a crush on this guy and he's married. But honestly, I was not hitting on him. I would ask him advice about other guys.
Hmm.
He would always give me advice about my then boyfriend, who I was still with. And
Hmm.
so I really don't feel
Interesting.
like we did anything wrong. We didn't
Yeah.
exchange numbers and get together. And it was only when I heard he was getting divorced that we made a plan to have dinner together. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And then I came home after the first date. And I've had a lot of first dates in my life. I mean, and
Mhm.
people listening, you probably have too. And you're thinking, when is it going to happen? I
Yeah.
was like 100% sure after the first date. I didn't really think I'd be with them now, still 8 years later. But I was like, I'm in love. And I think it was because I already knew him so well. And I couldn't believe it. I
Mhm.
just couldn't believe it. It
Yeah,
was
you already had a foundation to that, right? And
right.
so after the first date, right away you felt something.
Right. And then he didn't call me.
Oh,
And then
okay.
okay, this is a great tip for your listeners. So then he
Yes.
called me, and I want to tell you because we've talked about it. Because I was like, well, I was the one who he texted me the next day after the date and said, "Thank you. I had such a nice time." So that was nice. But then,
Hmm.
like 3, 4 days later, I hadn't heard from him. And my friend said, "You should text him." And I was like, "I'd rather die." No, I'm not texting him. And then she said, "Listen, he's just going through a divorce. He doesn't know how to do this." And
Yeah.
sure enough, I
Yes.
texted him and said, "Hey, if you ever want to get together, let me know." And he answered right away. And when we went out the second time, he said, "Look, I'm really sorry. I just don't know how to do this." He needed a little push. And
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
that, it was good. So
I love that. And I love that you pointed that out because it's something that I talk about a lot with my female clients because a lot of people it does. And also this is not a generational thing. I have clients that are in their 30s who don't want to be the first to reach out. They always want to wait for the man to make the first move, the second move, the after the making the second date, making the plan for the third. I mean, all of it, and I get that. But also sometimes you need to prompt people and they don't, they might not know and it might be have been 30 years since they've last done this,
right.
you know?
Dating after divorce is really scary. It's
Hmm.
terrifying to people. I mean, you're so vulnerable. You've never
Yes,
shown anybody yourself except your husband or your wife.
yes.
And even though that didn't work out, at least they knew you. And then, like, let's talk about people who are so afraid to get naked with people. I mean,
Hmm.
you have
Hmm.
not done this with somebody in decades
Yeah.
sometimes. And that is terrifying to people. And
Yes,
what I would say as my advice is that the other people feel the same way as you do.
exactly.
So it
Exactly.
really, everyone is feeling that way. It's very normal and
Mhm.
understandable.
Yeah. And I think in your case, you'd had a friendship already, so it was probably a little bit easier to maybe reach out, and then also for him to say to you right away, "Oh, I'm just new to this. This is all unfamiliar." Whereas when you're strangers who met online or anywhere really, but if you're people that have just met, you might not have that communication yet. So
You're
then
right.
things kind of
Because I
fizzle out.
trusted him. I knew in my
Yeah.
gut he was a good person. But you're right, Alyssa, because if you meet someone online, you don't know. They
Yeah,
might just, you
exactly.
might think they're a player. But I
Right.
would say to your
Right.
listeners, give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, if
Yeah.
it happens like 3 or 4 times and you're not hearing from them, okay, well, now a pattern is being set that isn't good.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. No, that's such a good thing that you pointed out there that sometimes it does take being the one who makes reaches out first or asks them out first or whatever it is. So and it's hard. I know it's hard for women to do that, but it's encouraging when people hear stories like yours where you did kind of make the first couple of moves, right? And so now you guys have been together for 8 years
Mhm.
and you're living together or
We moved in together about a year and a half ago.
oh wow.
We waited a very long time till the kids went to college. And yeah, it's great. It really is great, but it does change the relationship
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
in good ways, but it's different. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So, and a lot of your clients who come to you, I'm sure you hear this all the time that they've heard online dating is terrible and they've heard, they're terrified to try it or they don't want to try it or, they've only heard bad things. And so what kind of advice do you give them for that?
oh my gosh, well, this is your area.
Well, no, but I know you also offer
Yes.
good advice.
Well, if I understand that burnout, and I also understand, like Alyssa, tell me if you hear this from clients. You can go through a dating dry spell where I've had times in my life where I couldn't get a date to save my life. I was like, no one's looking at me. I'm in the worst dry spell of my life. And
Mm-hmm.
that advice, if that's you right now, listen, you only need one and your dry spell is going to end. And I think that usually when you have a dry spell, you meet somebody really great right after it. So
Mm-hmm.
just be patient and don't be afraid to be alone for a while and just say, I'm in a dry spell. It's okay. It will end.
Yeah.
And dry spells are a wonderful time to work on yourself. Like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm not dating anyway. What do I want so that I can be happier? I'm not saying work on yourself physically. Only work on yourself if you want to work on yourself for you. You are
Mhm.
good enough for
Right.
any guy. But if there's something you want to do, like you want to try a new hobby, or you want to volunteer, or you want to go back to school and take a class. It's a great time to do it after divorce because
Well,
you're
and
reinventing yourself.
and on that note, like you were saying about the gym, that can also be a source of meeting new people too, right?
The
I
gym
mean,
is the
going to
best
class.
place. There might be a lot of people saying, like, oh, but I hate working out. Do you hate walking? Just go to the gym. Like we have a track at our gym. Just go walk around the track because
Hmm.
you're doing something good for your body, you're doing something good for your brain and your mental and emotional well-being. And you're going to start to run into people, and it really does become a social place. So on those weekends that you don't have your kids and you're sitting around and you're lonely, if you go to the gym and that's all you do all day, at least you did something social. You went to a place and said hi to four or five people, and you'll see you won't get depressed. You won't feel like you're alone. You won't feel so isolated because you went and did one thing, even.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. Yeah. My boyfriend and I were out walking around this weekend and we saw this running club go by. It was like a group of probably 30 or 40 people in this running club. And they were all like chit-chatting while they were running. And it was a Saturday morning. And I was like, that is such a great, it was men and women, obviously. And it was such a, I was like, why didn't I ever think of doing that? I was, there are just these certain things that you don't really think of when you're kind of in the thick of it, when you want to really meet somebody. You're like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but that seems like a great way to meet somebody. And
And
also, you're
that's
right.
only one, that's like one thing. And by the way, remember Miranda on Sex in the City? She met someone that way. She joined a running club and she met
Oh,
like a
really?
diet.
I don't remember that. That's so
But
funny.
you're
Yeah.
right. And they say, I've heard this, the best way to meet someone. Now, Alyssa and I both know online dating, that's the way. Yes, that's a big part of it. And if you want to meet someone, that's a great way to meet someone. But there are many other ways.
Mm-hmm.
And one
Yes.
way is to
Right.
follow what you love to do because like-minded people connect.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
if you enjoy anything, a cooking class, um, anything you want to do, Google it online, find it in your
Yeah.
neighborhood or your area,
Yeah.
and other people. Maybe that you meet a group of women that you start going out with from one of
Yes.
these. And
That
then maybe
too.
they have
Yeah.
a friend or they have a cousin, or it's a network, and then you start becoming friends with these women. Maybe you start going out for drinks or dinner with them, and then you have
Mm-hmm.
something to do on a Saturday night. I've heard this from so many divorce coaches. You have to find your community.
Yeah.
But when you
Yes.
get divorced, you're all alone. And I don't mean that to sound scary. It's just a fact. You get divorced and you're alone. And now it's time to rebuild community. And that feeds into meeting people.
Yeah.
Please don't get divorced and then don't do anything but go online. That's if you only
Yeah,
go
I agree.
online.
And people ask me that all the time. Like, what if I really just I have my heart set on meeting someone in real life. And that's amazing. That's great. Definitely be putting that energy into it. Join the running club, do the cooking class, whatever it is, do the hiking club. But also what online dating is also just a tool to be also interacting with more people and being able to meet more people. It's not like you just do one or the other. I think it's really about doing both.
I totally agree. And here's another thing. Let's say you go on a date with someone online and there's no connection. You don't have to leave feeling awkward. You could actually say to the guy, look, I don't really feel like we're connecting in a romantic way, but I like you. Would you want to become friends?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then you could introduce him to one of your girlfriends, or he could introduce you to a guy. What is wrong with having a friend? Nothing
Yeah.
bad can
Yeah,
come from a
exactly.
date on
Well, and
online, and if it doesn't
that's
work out.
something that I don't know, you may have heard me say this before because I talk about this a lot. But my theory is, or my philosophy is that if you like the person well enough to want to go on another, not even date, just go out with them again as a friend, like go to the movies, go grab a coffee, go for a walk, whatever it is. If you liked the person enough to be friends with them, go out on a second date, a third date. And if it doesn't turn into anything, that's fine too. But like you said, maybe you have somebody else to introduce them to, or, maybe they have someone to introduce you to. You never know where that's going to lead. And also not to mention that it's just, it's one more friend to hang out with.
And
And then also it could turn in, I mean, I've seen this happen. It happened with me in my relationship, but also I've seen it happen with clients too, where sometimes if you agree to kind of, okay, well, I like this person enough to hang out again or again and again, the attraction comes. So I've seen that happen. And
later,
yeah.
absolutely. And I was just going to say something. Oh, after divorce, there's a lot more platonic male-female friendships, don't you think, Alyssa? Like,
Mhm.
you get divorced and you have something in common with a man. You're both divorced. So platonic relationships between men and women are much more with divorced people. I mean, I always think of when Harry met Sally. I mean, or
Yeah.
also like when I got divorced, there was a neighborhood bar where everyone went. And you would always see all these divorced men and women, and they
Oh,
became
really?
all
Oh,
became
I wish New
friends.
York had
And
something like that.
I'm surprised because I just
Yeah.
maybe it's a
It's just
suburban
too
thing.
big. It's too big.
Mhm.
But that's great. I mean, it's like that when you get divorced, you should just hang out at this one this one bar.
Yeah, and it's not like people were hitting on people. Now, listen,
Right.
if I would have
Right.
made a move, they would have. But, and that I'm not trying to be conceited. I'm just saying they're men.
Right.
But
Yeah.
if you set the bar like we're friends and you set boundaries, they turn out to be pretty good friends
Mm-hmm.
because you have a lot
Yeah.
in common,
Right.
so.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Well, this is great. Thank you for sharing your story, and I'm sure it's encouraging for so many people. Um,
Uh,
and yeah, I mean,
well,
it's
Alyssa, your story is encouraging to people too because you actually met your now spouse online. It's been
Mhm.
several years, and I would
Yeah.
think that anyone listening, you would give people hope.
Yeah, I mean that it does work, and you have to put effort into it, and you have to put the work into it, but it does work as long as you, like I said, use it as a tool to meet more people and not think of it as like I'm going to put myself online and I'm going to immediately meet the right person. It's doesn't work like that.
And I don't have to have any kind of other life. Like you have to have a whole life where you don't even need it.
Yes,
You have to
yes,
have a
that's true
life
too.
that is like, I'll be okay if I don't have someone. And that's exactly when you meet someone.
Yep, that is so true. So true. I agree. Thank you. So
Oh,
many
thanks
good
for having
pieces
me.
of advice. Everybody, Jackie Pilossoph, you should definitely follow her on Facebook, Instagram. I can put that in our comments in the post, and also go to her website, divorcegirlsmiling.com. And she offers free consultations, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Anybody who's not just new to divorce, but really experiencing any part of it. Is that right? Or is it really just for kind of newbies?
No, it's for anybody. And if you want a free consult, what takes place during the half hour is that you just kind of vent to me, tell me what your issues are, and I listen, give my advice, but then also connect you to other people. Like I connect a lot of people and I say, you know what, it sounds like you need to work with Alyssa or like a divorce coach or a
Mm-hmm.
financial advisor or a real
Mm-hmm.
estate agent or,
Right,
a
right.
mediator, anybody who might be able to help you in the divorce or after.
Yeah, great, great. Yeah, she's an amazing resource. So check out all of her socials and her website. Thank you so much, Jackie. And
Alyssa, thanks for
I'm glad
having
I caught
me.
you before the holidays. A
Yeah.
great way to end the new year, end the
Yes.
year. So I would love to have you on again, actually, maybe in January or February, so we can talk more.
Anytime.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.